Hey there, friend. In this episode, I'm going to be sharing with you the 7 invisible blocks that can stop you from really getting clarity around your vision. We're going to be using the examples of the vision for your business, your company, as well as the vision for your personal life. So this is really for you if as soon as you sit down and really put pen to paper, maybe you've had these visions floating around, but when you put it down and you start to write it out, it's like your mind goes blank. Or maybe when you're starting to write it out, all of these thoughts start coming in, like, how the heck are we going to make this happen? Or where am I going to find the team or the financial resources, or how am I going to rally a bunch of people around this vision, or what are other people going to think about this vision? If any of that comes up when you have been crafting your vision, you're not alone. So we're going to be diving into these 7 invisible blocks. And these really came from me noticing a pattern between a lot of the different clients that we've helped in gaining clarity and communicating their 3-year vivid vision. Over the last 5 years, we've helped hundreds of entrepreneurs craft their 3-year vision and be able to communicate it in a way that really inspires their teams and their customers, their vendors, to see the vision and then take action on the vision. So as I'm going through these 7 invisible blocks, really make note of the ones that resonate with you, that you notice maybe you get stuck in, and then make sure that you listen to some of the tips and tools that I'm going to be sharing with you, so that when you sit down, whether it's to craft your 3-year vision for your company or for your personal life, or it's even mapping out the next year, that you notice when these blocks come up so that you can override them, because they're very common. But what will happen is they kind of cause us to play small, or play in this possibility of like not really getting clear of our vision, and therefore not pointing the direction of where we're headed so that we can really lead and lead effectively. All right. So let's dive in. So invisible block number 1 looks like this. You don't know what you want. The block is that you actually don't know what you want. The underlying emotion underneath of that is confusion. So if maybe you've been building your company, running your company, and you're just like, I don't really know what the vision is. I don't know what we want. And you're kind of like playing this guessing game. We can think that that's a good enough reason not to play a bigger game in business or in our lives. But really, for me, I believe that that's a block, because uh, confusion is a um, really warm and cozy cover up for avoidance. And I have found, there's several clients that we've worked with where they said, hey, I was putting off, really putting my vision to paper for years because I made up this story that I didn't know where we were going, when really I did know where we were going. I was just, it felt confronting to actually sit down and put the pen to paper. So, do you notice this one coming up? If you've noticed that you've been playing this game of you don't know what you want, what kind of company you want to build, maybe it can also be a cover up for, the company that you want to build, but it's different than the company that you're building now. And so you keep playing in this game of saying that you don't know what you want. Block number 2 is being concerned with what others are going to think. Underneath of that is really the fear of judgment. So it can look like, those stories or thoughts in your head of like, what are other people going to think of me if I really go for it? or if you think about the idea of sharing, whether it's with your customers or your team or your colleagues, that you're afraid that people are going to judge you. I noticed this one come up for me out of the 7. This one definitely shows up strong in some areas. And last year, I was running a 2-day team planning retreat. I had flew my team in from all over to San Diego, California. I even flew in team members from, Spain and all across the US. And we had, I had created our 3-year Vivid Vision, which is a document that paints a clear picture of exactly what I saw the company looking like 3 years into the future. But there was some adjustments that I just knew in my heart that I wanted to make as far as in the vision and where we were headed. And I remember weeks leading up to the meeting, I was so nervous because I was like, do I share with my team? Do I not share with my team? Are they going to judge the idea that I actually want to pivot, or upgrade the vision a little bit? And there was an area that I saw as a huge opportunity for us to go into, and really to stop doing a lot of what our core business activities were. But when I really forecasted like what I wanted the company to look like, I was afraid that they were going to judge it, like my own team, and be like, how the hell are we going to make that happen? Or, I thought that we were building this. And I noticed like leading up to it, I was so concerned, to the point where right at the beginning of the team planning meeting, in my head, there was this battle of like, do I share with them? Do I not share with them? Do we just keep going with like the vision as is? Or do I share like what's really, in my heart of where I see us taking this thing? And I was able to override that voice of fear of judgment. And I shared with my team, this is where I see us going, and painted the picture of exactly what I saw of it in my mind. And what happened was like, there was this big sigh of relief from everyone being like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. That sounds like exactly like we're on board. And seeing the energy and the expansion in the room when it was brought up, reminded me, it was like to get over that story of the fear of judgment. And everyone was on the same page as far as, that upgraded and up-leveled vision. Now, that may not always happen, right? I have many, many clients who are innovators and mavericks, where they have showed up in these industries doing something different, whether it's in, healthcare or bioengineering or the consulting space. And they're kind of the disruptor as far as the way that they're doing things. And they're pissing off a lot of other people who have been doing it one way. But the thing that I always share with them is like, anchor back into the people that you're really helping. And if you're going to let the story of judgment get in your way of actually helping the people that you're meant to help, that's, it's self-centered. And so if you notice this block coming up, I just invite you to really shift the focus back into who it is that you're serving with this vision. All right. Number 3 is not allowing yourself to have more. The underlying emotion with this one is oftentimes guilt. And what I'll hear from my clients, or when I'll do presentations on this topic, is people will say, I don't want others to feel like I'm leaving them behind. Or what if I surpass, how much so-and-so makes, or how big so-and-so took this. For example, I have a client who studied under this brilliant entrepreneur, and she was studying under this entrepreneur and teaching some of the similar work, but she wanted to take the work and create even bigger of a reach and really go big with it. But she kind of like kept bumping up against, I don't want to outshine my mentor. I don't want to, her to feel like I'm taking over or trying to take over this idea, this message, but I really want to share it with the world. So there was that underlying guilt. And some other voices that can come up is like, I don't want to be ungrateful for what I have right now. I especially noticed this with women, that fear of like not wanting to leave others behind, playing a bigger game. And one of my mentors taught me that being grateful and wanting more aren't mutually exclusive, meaning like they don't fight each other. You can be so grateful for exactly what you have right now in your life and want more. Because we do live in a universe where it's always expanding. There's always growth occurring, and either we're channeling that growth into expansion or we're channeling that growth into mutation. And so that if you notice you're starting to, maybe craft your vision for your company or your life, and you're like, oh, well, I'm pretty good with where I'm at. That's perfect. But I'd also invite you to what is on that leading edge for you. Where do you want to grow into? Whether that's in your health or your relationships or your business. Because we are living in a world where the universe wants to see us grow and expand, so that we can really reach our full potential. So number 3, not allowing yourself to have more. Number 4 is not giving yourself permission to want what you want. So the underlying emotion here is really fear. A lot of these are, but not giving yourself permission. This one is different than not allowing yourself to have more. When I've done trainings in the past for this, sometimes people will get these mixed up. But not giving yourself permission is not even putting something down, because and what it sounds like is you're like, I don't even want that. But secretly, you really do. And you're saying, I don't want that. And you're not giving yourself permission because you are afraid that you may not get it. Or like also saying, I can't do something like that. And the way that has showed up for me was a couple years ago, I hired a business coach. And one of the first steps in his process was to fly to his office in Utah and do a strategy day. And I hired him because I was just like hustling in my business. I was feeling so overwhelmed. I felt like there's so many things that just like weren't working. And I was stressed out. In my mind, I thought like, I need better systems. I need more team members. I was so overwhelmed. So I was just hoping that I could go to the strategy day and he can give me a step-by-step playbook of exactly what I needed to do so I could just go and execute on it. And when I got there, he was like, okay, so the first step that we're going to focus on is your vision. We're going to get really, really clear of like, what is your vision for your company and what's the vision for your life? And I was like a little bit snarky. I was like, hey, listen, I love personal development. I love visioning. I love goal setting. I'm all about it. But I hired you for business coaching. I don't really want to go into my personal life right now. they're different, and like let's get to the nitty-gritty of what needs to happen in my business so I could stop being so overwhelmed. And he's very, very wise. And he was like, no, what we really need to do is have you connected to your vision. And so we went through this whole process where he had me um, writing down parts of my vision that I really wanted to, bring into the world in all areas of my life. And if he saw that I wasn't emotionally connected to it, then he would crumple up the paper, throw it out, and make me try again. And I started to go through all the different areas of my life, but the one area that I was avoiding was writing down what I wanted in my relationships. And I literally wrote down on one of these pieces of paper, I'm like, yeah, maybe I get married one day, maybe I have kids one day, not really sure, but possibly. Like it was like so general and just like, ugh. And then when he told me to like put it in the certain areas around the rest of my vision, I put it in the area that was like the furthest to me. And he looked at me and he was like, we're going to go deeper on this one. And he crumpled up the paper and threw it out. And he kept probing me and he was like, do you want to get married? Do you want kids? I was like, I don't really know. I'd never even really considered it. And then I broke down crying with enough probing. And I realized that it was something that I really wanted. But I was really afraid to claim it in my vision because I was really afraid that it may not happen. So it felt way easier for me to focus in on other areas of my vision that I felt like I could make happen and I could control, instead of this area that felt so vulnerable and quite honestly, like out of my control in some parts. But then I realized that was the fuel for me that motivated me to make everything else in my vision happen. And if it wasn't for him and really, poking and being like, no, we're going to go deeper here, that block probably would have gotten in the way of me just saying, no, I don't even want this, even though I really did. So in looking at, not giving yourself permission, is that an area that's stopping you from really gaining clarity of your vision, of really putting down what it is that you want? All right. Block number 5 is you feel like you're capping yourself. So the block can show up, the underlying emotion here is kind of scarcity, feeling limited. And I hear this so often, especially in super motivated, driven entrepreneurs, where when we're taking them through the visioning process, we call it the vision expander session, they'll say, I don't know if I want to put this down. Like, for example, I don't, if I put down that in the next three years, we want to generate $10 million in revenue, does that mean that I'm capping myself of making $15 million in revenue? And the thoughts and concerns are like, I don't want to put my vision down because I don't want to limit myself. I don't even know what's possible. So if I put something down, am I missing all of the other possibilities that I currently can't see? Yeah. So this is super common. And one of the most important things to remember as you're crafting your vision, and this is something that I learned several years ago, which I love, is right at the bottom of your vision, you write all of this and something even greater still. So basically what you're saying is, okay, from this vantage point, I know that this is what I currently want. And I also recognize that as I'm on my journey, there may be more and other things that I learn that I want. So by adding that sentence, all of this and something even better or greater still, It's holding your vision, not like gripping onto it really tightly, but keeping it open and saying, I'm open for that magic. I'm open for even better, greater things to come into the picture that I can't even see yet. And I can't tell you how many times this has become true for me in my life when I write that at the bottom of any sort of vision that I want to bring into the world. In the home that my boyfriend Alex and I are living in right now, it's my dream home. And even before us finding this home, we found a home that we really loved. It met a lot of our criteria, but something just felt a little bit off about it, where I was like, I don't think that this is our home. And so we were going through the process of, putting our application in and all that, but I just kept saying this or something greater, this or something better, this or something better. And then when we found the home that we live in now, and it met like all of the criteria that we had, plus so many other things that we didn't even realize that we wanted, with, the ocean views and walking distance to all of these amazing restaurants and shops, and has like a big pool and just all of these extra things. I really believe it was because, we allowed for even greater still to come in. So number 5, if you notice yourself capping yourself, keep writing down your vision, but just add that extra line. Number 6 is the block of feeling like there's too much to choose from. So the underlying emotion that you may run into here is overwhelm. So maybe you have so many different visions. Maybe even in your company, there's when you paint the picture of exactly what you want your company to look like, feel like, sound like 3 years into the future, it feels like there's so much, and you don't even know where to start, or there's too much to choose from. There's so many possibilities in this infinite world. That's super common. Like, but I kind of joke, it's like, oh gosh, it's like having vision FOMO, fear of missing out on all of the visions. And what I invite you to do is to write down the areas that you just allow yourself to vision and dream of all that you want, why you want it, what it really looks like. And then also, the second step really goes into then the how. And that's where I see people getting more caught up in, is you can have all of those visions. You just may not be able to pursue them all at once. So you pick the one that you're going to start with in pursuing, while holding the rest of those in your mind. And you start with one, trusting that when the other ones are ready to lock in and put into place, they will. But then in addition to that, that's also really getting into the how. And that's probably one of the biggest things that I see people get stuck on in all of these, is they'll drop into the how, when really, when you're mapping out the clear vision of what you want your company to look like, or your health, or your relationships, or your mission, don't worry about the how right now. That's not the time. And I'm going to do a whole other segment, a whole other episode on how not to get caught up in the how, and the process for really allowing yourself to dream and vision and connect with what you want and why you want it first. Because when we get caught up in the how too soon, then it really, it just dampens the overall process. All right. And then number 7, invisible block that can cause you from getting clarity of your vision, is being afraid to know. Afraid to know. And so the emotion here is being a fear of responsibility. And where and how this can show up is if you keep thinking like, oh, I'll map out my vision. I just need to go and do this other certification, or I just need to learn a little bit more on this, or I'm not ready yet. Or you have a lot of awareness around things, but very little results on things because you're constantly just trying to learn more before you get clarity. That can oftentimes stop us. I'm going to pull up a quote here. Let me see if I can find it that I really love from one of my friends, David Mailer, where he said, sometimes we pretend not to know, but really we don't want to be responsible for the knowing. Damn, right? Like, whew. Sometimes we pretend not to know, but really we don't want to be responsible for the knowing. Because if we're responsible for the knowing and we put the vision down on what we know that we're here to do, then we're responsible for bringing it into the world and bringing it into our reality and actually making it happen. And especially when we're playing a really big game, if there's something that we know, you know that you're put on this planet to do, but it feels freaking big and scary, then this block can pop up. And then what shows up is, you're busy learning more and telling yourself that you're not ready, and therefore you're not putting pen to paper and really making sure that you're clear so that you can go out and start making it happen. So this, in just to recap the 7 blocks that can cause you from gaining clarity of your vision. The first one is, pretending that you don't know when really you do. You're just avoiding. Number 2 is you're concerned with what other people are going to think. Number 3 is not allowing yourself to have more, feeling like you're going to be leaving others behind by really stepping into your vision. 4 is not giving yourself permission to want what you want. 5 is to feel like you're capping yourself. 6 is feeling like there's too much to choose from to really get clarity. And then 7, being afraid to know. So my invitation for you here is to, journal on which one of these gets in your way when you're sitting down to really gain clarity on what it is that you want to build. What that vision looks like for you, whether it's in your business or, or your personal life. And I really look at them as both, especially as entrepreneurs and, CEOs and founders. If you're a leader and you're building the company, it's really important too, to make sure that you're building your life in alignment with the way that you're also building your company, so that they're part of the same vision, and that you're not constantly having this battle between feeling like you have to choose certain areas of a life and really sacrifice other areas of life. And that's super common, really a common thing that I see. And so hopefully this helps you in just seeing where some of your blind spots may be, what may have been getting in the way of gaining clarity of your vision. And when you start gaining clarity of your vision, and then you get to that point where you're starting to feel stuck on, now how do you communicate it effectively and clearly in a way that really inspires and motivates people to take action, then I would love to invite you to learn more over at createyourvividvision.com, where my team and I really specialize in helping CEOs, entrepreneurs, in communicating their 3-year vision, whether it's for their company or their personal life, and then putting it in clear, powerful words and communication and design, so that you can really communicate your company or your personal life in your future to be a place that you and your team really want to visit. So if you want to learn more about how to work with us, head on over to createyourvividvision.com and you can check out more there.